social cohesion and reconciliation, because peace is the only gift that we can give to the next generation of our children and for generations to
come. Peace is precious than any political.
Live from Juba, on air and online.
This is iRadio News.
Hello, good morning. This is iRadio News. First, here are the headlines. President Salva Kiir has relieved the chairperson of the HIV and AIDS Commission, Dr. Esterina Novello, and the Akobo County Commissioner in Jonglei State in Republican decrees last evening. The Undersecretary in the Ministry of Gender, Child and Social Welfare announced that the ministry will conduct a specialized training for members of the National Constitutional Review Commission on the South Sudan Women Charter, which articulates the essential priorities and demands of women and girls. And elsewhere, Zambia's foreign minister has warned diplomats against interfering in the country's affairs days after the U.S. ambassador raised concerns about the systematic theft of drugs donated to the South African state. These are stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Lasuba Memo, and now the news in detail. President Salva Kiir has relieved the chairperson of the HIV and AIDS Commission, Dr. Esterina Novello, and the Akobo County Commissioner in Jonglei State in Republican decrees. Kiir appointed Dr. Justin Kawach McQuay as the new chairperson of the HIV and AIDS Commission. Dr. Kawach was head of the intensive care unit at Real Day Care Hospital in Juba. Dr. Kawach holds a Master of Medicine in Emergency Medicine and Critical Care from St. Paul Hospital, a Doctor of Medicine from Southwestern University, and a Bachelor of Science from the University of Melbourne. Meanwhile, Kiir removed Akobo County Commissioner Simon Pok Nyang Tudjek. Simon Port Nyang Tudjek, who is an SPLM-IO member, was first suspended by Governor Dr. Riek Gaikok on April 21st when he rejected the move. He has been replaced by James Kweth Makwaj, a member of the Sudan People's Liberation Movement in opposition. The president also issued an order appointing a committee to the reorganized NILPET. The committee includes the Undersecretary of the Ministry of Petroleum as Chair, Ministry of Public Services as Deputy Chair, Petroleum and Gas Commission Member, Director General for the Internal Security Bureau of the National Security Service, Secretary General, Managing Director, NILPET Member, DG NILPET Upstream Member. The Undersecretary of the Ministry of Gender, Child and Social Welfare announced that the ministry will conduct a specialized training for members of the National Constitutional Review Commission on the South Sudan Women Charter, which articulates the essential priorities and demands of women and girls. Esther Ikere Olizai says the training aims to promote a just, equitable and inclusive legal framework. Representing the minister, Olizai emphasized that the revitalized agreement on the resolution of the conflict in South Sudan provides gender-responsive provisions and women's participation in the constitution-making process as a vital for representing marginalized groups, building coalitions and promoting political dialogue. She also noted that the charter was developed with support from UN Women and thanked the African Union Women, Peace and Security Council for its legal review support. The South Sudan Women's Declaration, an advocacy tool, is pending publication. UN Women Country Representative Ms. Delphine Serumanga reaffirmed that the constitution-making process is a unique opportunity to entrench gains from the R axis, especially affirmative action for women. She called for early mobilization and civic education to ensure women are empowered. RGMEC Chief of Staff Ambassador Bernahanu Kabede expressed concern over continuing hostilities and parties' commitment to the peace deal. He stressed that women's inclusion, as stipulated in the R-Axis, must be upheld throughout the constitution-making process. And Ms. Deputy Special Representative of the UN Secretary General, Mr. Guang Kong, reiterated UNMISS support for substantive women's participation in governance and constitution making. He encouraged women to use this opportunity to promote equality, justice, and leadership in the future of South Sudan. The Deputy Governor of Central Equatorial State says the state administration will open up feeder roads to ensure improved access to farms and production areas to facilitate agricultural activities. Paulino Lokudu Obede said the state government is prepared to allocate land for agricultural investment as a measure to enhance food security. Obede urged the people in the state to adhere to land acquisition policies and refrain from land grabbing, advocating for responsible land allocation to support agricultural development. He further stated that it is important to build the capacities of farmers and provide subsidies to agricultural investors to reduce reliance on imported food. Deputy Governor made the remarks during the opening of the third edition of the Juba Economic Forum on Tuesday. Central Equatorial State has one of the most diverse agricultural landscapes, supporting cultivation of various types of crops such as maize, cassava, sweet potatoes, sorghum, millet, groundnuts, beans, cowpeas, with 2 harvests per year in some areas. The state also supports livestock rearing, including cattle, goats, and sheep, alongside poultry. This is iRadio Morning News, and now to the international scene. Zambia's foreign minister has warned diplomats against interfering in the country's affairs days after the U.S. ambassador raised concerns about the systematic theft of drugs donated to the Southern African state. Mulembo Haimbe said there was an increasing tendency by envoys to ignore diplomatic channels, and this could undermine the spirit of mutual respect. He did not name anyone, but his comments were seen as being directed at the U.S. ambassador to Lusaka, Michael Gonzalez. Last week, Gonzalez called for a press conference to announce that the U.S. was cutting $50 million of health aid to Zambia because of the theft of life-saving medicines that the U.S. had provided for patients. Finally, U.S. President Donald Trump has said he will lift sanctions on Syria ahead of an expected meeting with its leader, Ahmed al-Sharaa. Trump has agreed to say hello to Syria's interim president on Wednesday in Saudi Arabia as part of his tour of the Middle East. The announcement of the lifting of sanctions was met with elation in the Syrian capital of Damascus, where cheering, dancing, and celebratory gunfire were heard. The sanction had previously blocked any foreign financing, including aid, from reaching Syria, and were originally intended to put pressure on the dictatorship of now ousted President Bashar al-Assad. This is iRadio Morning News. And to end this bulletin, here is a recap of the headlines. President Salva Kiir has relieved the chairperson of HIV and AIDS Commission, Dr. Serena Novello, and the Kobo County Commissioner in Jonglei State in Republican decrees. Then the Secretary of the Ministry of Gender, Child and Social Welfare announced that the ministry will conduct a specialized training for members of the National Constitutional Review Commission on the South Sudan Women Charter, which articulates the essential priorities and demands of women and girls. And Zambia's foreign minister has warned diplomats against interfering in the country's affairs days after the U.S. ambassador raised concerns about the systematic theft of drugs donated to the Southern African state. That's the end of iRadio Morning News. If there is a story or an event you'd like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message at +211 925 287 It's also our WhatsApp number. Follow us on X at iRadio Juba, like our Facebook page iRadio, subscribe to our YouTube channel at iRadio South Sudan. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for the news in Arabic at 8 o'clock. I'm Lasuba Memo.